Ready? Good morning. Today is May 5th, 2022. Welcome to the City of Toronto Committee of Adjustment, Scarborough District. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone, or tablet app. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio credit. The Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. In accordance with property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wishes to receive a copy of our decision on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB will be sending notifications and appeal at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Today, I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. When making your submissions, when an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation if required. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into the committee for a decision. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee of the application. Please note, the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to the revised. When all speakers are finished, the applicant has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Items 1.
Is actually items 1 through 16.
Right. And the afternoon is 17 to 27, I believe. Okay. All right. We need to confirm the minutes of the last meeting. Do I have a motion to confirm the minutes? Mohammed?
Thank you very much. Through the chair, I put.
And I recognize your hand up and say that it's a second. I don't need you to say that it'll be seconded. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, all in favor? Yeah, motions are confirmed. Are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff for items in the morning time slot? No declarations. Are there any deferral requests, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer?
Through the chair, there are 2 deferral requests and 1 withdrawal request. I'll start off with the first deferral request. It is item 625 BOEM Avenue. It's a deferral request sine die at the request of the applicant to address concerns identified by community planning, urban forestry services, the deputy mayor, and neighbors. And this is for the minor variance for 25 BOEM Avenue.
So we should deal with that now?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have Yasso Alingam on the line? Yes, okay. Would you go ahead, sir? Yes, please, your name.
Somalingam. I'm the.
Yes, can we have your name?
My name is Yaso
What's your last name, sir?
Lingam.
We didn't.
Somalingam,
All right, thank you. And your address, sir?
850 Tapscott Road, Unit 51,
All right,
Toronto.
okay. And you're asking for a deferral?
That's correct.
All right, can you tell us why you're asking deferral?
We are meeting with community planning and arranged by the deputy mayor and the mayor and his staff. And number of residents participate on that, and they need to get some more clarification on this application. So they requested us to defer this meeting and then provide them the further details on this application.
So we should, Hillary Considine?
Through the chair, we normally just, the committee usually just deals with the deferral.
Okay, so you don't go to the opponents?
Correct.
To address the concerns of the community planning.
Is it Bill? Gary, sorry.
So, Gary McKay, Mr. No problem. Yes, I second that motion to defer sine die this property on BOEM Avenue.
Okay, all in favor of deferral? You have your deferral, sir.
Thank you very much.
Through the chair, the second deferral request is for item 8, 31 Hunt Club Drive. It's
So do we need to hear from the applicant in this case?
you don't, if the applicant's available, yes. If not, the committee can do their motion.
Yeah, because it's not a request of the applicant, it's,
That's correct.
okay. So is Samantha Sinella online? No, okay. Committee? Proper notice was not sent. We need to have a deferral.
On June 2nd, I put forward the motion for deferral of item number 8 to be rescheduled for the next meeting.
All right, do we have a seconder? Yes, Igor. All in favor of the motion for deferral? Okay, so the matter has been deferred. Item 13 has been withdrawn. We don't have to make a motion with respect to that. Okay, so now we can go to the list. Number 1, 3258 to 3260 Danforth Avenue. We have a speaker. We will hold that. Number 2, 5 Warringstown Drive. We have a speaker. We will hold that. Number 3, 9 Fernwood Heights. That looks like a contested deferral. It's been recommended. So we're going to hold that as well. Number 4, 50 Haileybury Drive. There's a speaker. We will hold that matter. Number 5, we can go ahead with number 5. Number 25 Caddy Drive.
Through the chair, I understand from some of our YouTube viewers that we are experiencing some sound issues. Can I request that we have a minute recess to try to address those issues?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Has the panel assembled?
Yes. Thank you, everybody. We are currently experiencing some lag and buffering issues with our YouTube stream due to bandwidth issues. Please be patient. Thank you.
We are now at item 525 Caddy Drive. Is Kaushik Sathar online? Okay.
And the committee member.
Can we have your name, sir, and your address for the record?
Yeah, my name is Kaushik Surtha and address is 25 Jansusi Road, apartment 201, Toronto, and I am the agent of the property owner.
Okay. So this looks like a pretty straightforward application. Do you have anything to say before I take it into committee?
Actually, they have the existing garage was unsafe and the rotten, so they demolished the existing carport and they start to rebuild, but they have to order to comply. So we have come to the committee of adjustment, the same size and the same location, same side yards and same lot coverage. So that's why we are in the front of the committee to asking the minor variance and for your approval.
All right, thank you. Committee, any questions? Any comments, or do we have a motion? Yes.
Appropriate. I therefore put forward motion for approval of item number 5, and I don't see there are any conditions attached to that.
Do we have a seconder? Yes, Igor. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, number 7, Dino Giulietti.
Through the chair, is this for item 7, 141 Fallingbrook?
No,
This is
819 Huronia Place. Oh, yeah, 141 Fallingbrook Road, right. Sorry.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Dino Giulietti. I'm the architect for this project. My address is 19 Huronia Place in Woodbridge. We are proposing a new 2-story house. We have submitted 14 signed letters of support, a report that identifies 64 other properties that have been granted the same minor variances. Okay.
Straightforward application. Do you have anything else to say before I take it into committee?
If you're satisfied, I am too.
Okay. Committee, do you have any questions? Yes, Mohammed?
Through the Mr. Chair, I just wanted to reconfirm with Mr. Dino that we see there are conditions of urban forestry there, condition number 1 and condition number 2, to reconfirm that the applicant is aware of that and have an acknowledgement to that.
Yes, we have. We are aware of it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, I am okay with that. The applicant acknowledges the conditions. It's again a pretty straightforward application. Both the variances about FSI and lot coverage, they are minor in nature. And if the committee member have comments, I am willing to support and to put forward a motion.
All right, do we have a seconder? Gary, all in favor of the motion? Have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 9, 251 Kennedy Road. And Jonathan Benskowski.
Jonathan Minskowski, 301 Keewatin Avenue.
Okay. Panel, do we need a presentation? There's no opposition. You want to hear from Mr. Benskowski? Okay, Mr. Benskowski, I don't have a yes or no. Perhaps you could just give us a very brief presentation.
Revise the plans to bring it more in line with the streetscape of Kennedy, taking the lot to the north and building it in line with that. The last thing I would say is all of the platform requests that are before you today relate to that original center line setback of Kennedy Road. So it is actually a setback from the property line. It is a setback from the original center line of Kennedy. That's why we see those inflated numbers. But the dwelling is proposed to be built in line with the dwelling to the north at 255. And I think that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. Any,
Attached to division, want to know if he's seen that and it is acceptable to him.
Well, through you, Mr. Chair, I would request that that condition not be imposed, as there is an existing building permit issued on this property. It has already gone through the urban forestry. So it would be my request that we not attach this, as it really would just be an unneeded delay and undue cost that would be imposed on the owner. Again, there is a building permit issue that already went through the urban forestry process. This is currently vacant with nothing on it, and I would hate to have any further delay in constructing the new house on the vacant lot.
all right, we'll take that into account. Any other questions? Yes, Colin?
Through the chair, can I ask that member McKay turn his video on?
Yeah. Yes, Ann?
I have a question to the applicant. If already got your building permit and you've already gone through urban forestry, why are you questioning the condition? Because all you would have to do is show that same letter to urban forestry and the condition would be waived.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I really wish it was that simple, Ms. McCauley. But again, if you do see it fit to impose it, but again, it is not quite that simple. I wish it were. But again, the owner now with this application wasn't the original owner. It has been sold. So it just may cause a little bit of undue time and delay. But again, I'm in your hands with any condition that you wish to impose on a meritorious application.
Yes, Mohammed?
Through the chair to Jonathan. Jonathan, I have a question. This is pertaining to the urban forestry condition. I hope you understand the condition number 2 is regarding removing or injury of any private tree. So I understand there is no tree which is going to be injured or removed. Could you just elaborate on that?
There are no trees left on the property. As you can see from the survey, as well as there is nothing there. It really is just an undue application fee that would need to be made, possibly. That again would just cause an undue delay. But again, I'm in your hands with any condition that you fit to impose.
Thank you, Jonathan. To confirm that there is no tree to be injured or removed. But again, the committee have these conditions, and to my opinion, I will put this condition there, and this is not applicable to you. It's not going to take any further time or delay for you. It's a formality requirements will be there. So I say we will, to my opinion, we'll keep this condition, but it's not going to be any delay for you.
So are you making a motion, Mohammed? Is that your motion?
Yeah, I move the motion for approval of item number 9, subject to the urban forestry condition.
Do we have a seconder? Yes, Ann. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 10. (34) Bardwell Crescent. Mr. Vincani.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Can we have your name and your address for the record, sir?
Yes, my name is Daniel Vinchan. from 2799 St. Clair Avenue East, and I'm the agent for 34 Bardwell. Correct.
Okay. So, do you have anything that you want to say to the panel before I take it into committee?
I would like to mention that we're proposing an addition based on an existing situation, and the fact that the lot is regular is why we are in front of the committee and have these variances. We don't have any side yard. I mean, apart from the portion of the garage where we have a little side yard variance, that's mainly due because of the existing situation. But the lot is very generous in size, and the house, I believe, is around 70 years old and is also in need of renovation.
Right. You're aware, of course, that there's a urban forestry condition number 2?
Yes, I'm fully aware of that, and we just recently received an arborist report, and we will go through all the required procedures with urban forestry.
Thank you. All right, panel, any questions? All right, do we have a motion? Ann, go ahead.
Through the chair, I believe Member Macaulay's on mute.
Okay. Sorry, I'll start again. I recommend approval of this variance application. It appears appropriate to the area. It's a addition to an existing dwelling. And there are conditions of urban forestry, which the applicant has said he is in agreement with.
All right, do we have a seconder? Igor, all in favor? Have approval, thank you, sir. Number 11.
Thank you, have a nice day.
All right, number 11, 39 Biscayne Boulevard. Joseph Battaglia.
I'm Joseph Battaglia,
Yes.
1050 McNichol Avenue, Unit 14, Scarborough, Ontario.
Thank you, sir. So there are no conditions, and do you have anything to say before I take it into panel? I take it to the panel.
I have nothing to say. I believe the requested variances are in nature and are appropriate for the development of this site.
Thank you. Panel, any questions? Yes, Mohammed?
Through the chair, Mr. Joseph, I was looking at the variance number 4, which is about the front yard landscaping, and the variance is very minor, of course, but since it's a front yard related to the environment thing, is that possible that this variance you can reconsider something in improvement in that, because you need 75% and you have already more than 73%, close to 74%. I was wondering that this variance could have been easily resolved by increasing space.
I guess it can be. I think probably it's a matter of the calculations being slightly different from ours. And there's not that much difference between 73.71, as you said, and 75. So if you want to strike that one, I think we can probably live with that. But, you know, I don't think you need to, but nevertheless, it's okay.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Yeah.
Yeah, Mohammed, I would be a little concerned because Mr. Battaglia says that his calculations are a little different than the planning department, and if the planning department says, no, our calculations is 73.71%, he's not gonna get his building permit. So I would be loath to delete that. and he's very close. Okay, do we have any further questions, or do we have a motion? Yes, Mohammed.
Through the chair, thank you, Chair, for making that comment. It's really, yeah, I agree to that. So with that, I as I said, all the four variances are very minor in nature. The side yard setback, the garage, and the landscaping. I'm willing to support this application and put forward the motion for approval of item number 11, and there are no conditions to that.
All right, do we have a seconder? Yes, Ann. All in favor? Yeah, approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 12, 45 BEXHILL Avenue. Mr. Gregory?
Thank you. I'm here on behalf of the owners and the contractor at 45 BEXHILL Avenue. Able to take questions if you do have them.
All right, can we have your name, sir?
It's Russ Gregory.
All right. And your address, sir?
I'm at 16 Church Street in Markham. That's our office.
All right, thank you. Do you have anything to say to the panel before I take it into committee?
If I could, Mr. Chair, through you, just a brief presentation of what's happened. This house, if you have been out to see the property, this house is up and constructed. The issue became, we used the existing foundation. They took down the existing exterior walls. We were originally going to use the existing 2x8 floor joists going across the house with a beam in the middle. But then on the building permit set of drawings, we changed it to 14-inch joists to span from exterior wall to exterior wall. Inadvertently, and I'll say with bad communication and a mistake on our behalf, that's how the house got raised 8 inches above where it was supposed to be. So that from that 8 inches to 14 inches was the difference, 8 or 9 inches that were back to committee to ask for, probably, I guess, what it is, ask for forgiveness. The house is, it looks very nice still. The neighbors all are in love with it. And I'd ask the committee today for their approval so we can allow the contractor to keep moving forward.
Any questions, panel? Mohammed?
Through the chair, I have a short question. Maybe we can take it right at this vetting stage. Mr. Gregory, my first question is, could you tell, this is an as-built situation. You told that the house is already built. So could you tell us exactly what stage of construction you are, what percentage of construction has already been made? And the second thing is, you were mentioning the height is, the variance caused is because of the 8 to 14-inch difference that is causing this variance of 2-story or 3-story. If this height is not there, for example, I'm just wanting to be more, 8 to 14 inches, does it mean the variance will not be there?
If I through you, Mr. Chair, if I can answer that, I think what you're asking is, if I think we've got the 3-story because the ground floor is greater distance above the established grade. Yeah, I guess it does get a little confusing. If the existing ground floor or the ground floor of the construction was at 4 feet or less, we would not have a 3-story situation. But we are at 4'8" or 4'9" above grade now, which makes that an additional story. So that's why we are necessary to get a variance for the 3-story building versus the 2-story building. It's all got to do with that difference between the 8-inch joists, or the 8-inch. Sorry, it's the 8-inch joist plus the sill plate that was put on top of the existing foundation wall. that created the 8-inch. So otherwise, it would have just been a 6-inch increase. Sorry. Oh, and I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, through you again, to answer your question. The last time I was at the project was quite some time ago, probably in the winter. The house is up and framed, the roof is on, shingled, and interior work had started on the mechanics, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC were underway. And I believe this was caught because of the foundation survey that was back in after the fact. And because of that, they found that the ground floor was actually, in fact, a few inches higher than it was supposed to be.
Any further questions, panel? Do we have a motion? Yes, Ann?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good, thank you. I understand sometimes that you can get caught in a definition of grade, and I'm pleased that the applicant has given us the detailed information as to why he's now 3 stories, and I assume that's your building height issue and your front door pedestrian height. So all of these variances are really relating to that change in grade. As such, I view this as minor. There's no major impact on the area, no major impact on the community, and I recommend approval.
All right, do we have a seconder? Yes, Mohammed. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye for now.
Thank you. We now go to item number 1417 Bellmore Avenue. Okay. Shaukat Ali.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, this is Shaukat Ali. I'm representing the client, the owner of the house.
Can we have your address for the record, sir?
Yeah, this is 3121 Mission Hill Drive, Mississauga.
All right, thank you. Do you have anything to say to the panel before we take it into committee?
Yeah, just a brief one that my client is building a deck on the rear side of the house, which is lower than the first floor level. We went to the city to get the permit, but the setback requirement is not met and we need to go to the committee of adjustment. That's why we came here, but we think that we meet the permitted encroachment requirement for the deck, which is lower than the first floor as per the zoning laws. We meet this permitted requirement.
All right, thank you. Panel, do you have any questions? Yes, Mohammed.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Shaukat, for elaborating on that. I'm talking about variance number 2, which the platform size is quite huge, as compared to the requirement. So, and to understand we have on record a letter from the councillor, which is not supporting all these things. So, are you still believe that this is not a big, very high and big platform which may affect the privacy?
No, this is the very low level. The area of the deck which you are asking about, the limited requirement is for the second or above deck. We are just 600 millimeter above the grade level and lower than the first floor level. So we do not think that this affects any of the privacy issue to any. It is nearly of the ground level deck.
So, Mr. Ali, as I read the variance, it says at or above the second story, this platform is 29.75 square meters, but you're saying it's not really a second story?
No, it is not. It is below first story level. They will walk out from the first floor and step down to the reach to the deck. It is not on the second floor. We have this drawings also submitted showing the same.
So if that's correct, perhaps we don't need this variance at all, because it's not above that or above the second story.
Okay, that's right.
Through the chair, this did go through a zoning review. Can I ask if the plan could be shown, the cross section could be shown on the screen?
Yeah, sure. How can I get the screen?
No. We will do that here on our end. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can see the drawings here. This is my ground level, and this is the deck outside, which is at the ground level basically. This drawing number A301 is showing that.
Through the chair, the deck on the right would be considered the second story, the second level, just due to the grading, I believe. But again, I'm not a zoning examiner, just based on my observation. And I think that's why the zoning examiner probably identified this in their zoning review.
So, Colin, when you say the deck on the right, you mean?
The deck on the left, the one that's being pointed to right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is deck on the left. This is the ground floor existing grade here at the bottom. And this is the deck, which is at the ground level, outside the ground level of the house.
So, Colin, you
Second level is on the top. Second level is on the top here.
Okay, so Colin, you say it's high enough to be considered a second story.
What I'm suggesting is that I think the zoning review is accurate.
Okay. Well, all right.
I cannot see in the other sheet, which I want to see. It's A402. The screen is still showing the previous one. Can you refresh this for me? Yeah, that's the one. If you see the existing grade, this is the deck, and this is the ground level, and this is the second level. So this one is just above the grade level. It's not on the second floor level. Second level is here.
The garage, probably from a zoning standpoint, is considered the first level, though, I would think, right?
That is the kind of walkout garage, that kind of thing. Yeah, but it is just below the grade level.
So I think one of our concerns, Mr. Ali, is privacy issues of your neighbors. If it's actually a second story or considered a second story, platforms are confined to 4 square meters. You're at 29.75 square meters. Are you overlooking any neighbors' yards or property?
It is a corner lot. So on the two sides there are roads, and this deck is on the side of the road, and on the next neighbor is 22 feet away from there, from the edge of the deck, and we have a fence there also, which is much higher than the deck level. So we do not think that the privacy would be compromised because of this.
Okay.
It's only 600 millimeters above the ground.
All right, thank you. Panel, do you have any further questions? Okay, do we have a motion? Yes, Mohammed?
So the chair, yes, after considering the information, considering the viewpoint that this is a corner lot and it's not going to affect the side properties privacy, or there is no such observations from the neighbors over here, I am willing to move the motion for approval of item number 14, and I don't see any conditions there.
Do we have a second? Yes, Igor. All in favor? Have your, all opposed? Okay, 3-2. The motion is passed. You have your approval, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Item number 15, 9 Hornshill Drive. Ella Lynn.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee member. So I'm the applicant for 9 Hornshill Drive, Scarborough.
All right. Thank you. And your address?
You mean applicant address?
No, your address.
Oh, okay. It's 126 Yorkville Boulevard, City of Warren.
All right, thank you. Do you have anything to say to the panel before I take it into committee?
So basically, the proposed addition actually has been built before the owner moved. So the owner tore it down and rebuilt it, and but they are not aware of the lot coverage actually over the maximum zoning bylaw requirement until they submit the zoning application. So only the addition only 5 meter by 2 meter. So the owner used it as a side entrance to connect to the garage because there's a big slope on the main on their main entrance. So it's a few accidents happened in the past. So that's why they feel like safer to go from the side door from the side entrance. So they asked for only the lot coverage variance, so comply with all the setbacks and no neighbor against the variance, and there's no impact on the street on the street on the city. So yeah.
Okay. All right, Anne, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Looking at this, I understand there's a number of steps up to the main front door. As part of this proposal, are they proposing to get rid of that front door entrance?
No, they will keep the front door entrance, but
not use it for safety reasons. They prefer to use the side door. Is that correct?
Yes, during the winter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any further questions? We have a motion? Yes, Anne?
I'm prepared to move approval of this application. It appears that it's a very minor increase in lot coverage, and it's predominantly for safety reasons that they are adding this, and that is appropriate.
All right, thank you. Seconder? Igor?
I second, and there,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
Igor had his hand up first, Mohammed. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate.
So calling number 6, the last on the morning list.
That's correct.
Okay, so we go back to,
Item 6, so that's correct, and there are speakers on that item.
yes, so I was going to go back to number 1. Uh, 3258 Dundas, 3258 to 3260 Danforth and you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can we do a recap of what items we have left in the morning session? So we have 1, 2, just a recap of what items we're still going to be considering.
All right.
Thank you.
Number 1, 2, Let me just see. Yeah, 3, 4, 8 has been deferred. And 16.
Thank you.
Number 1, Jane Marling.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of committee.
Good morning. We have your name and address for the record, please.
Jane McFarlane. Office address is 268 Berkeley Street, Toronto.
All right. And we have some opposition here. Can we have your presentation, please?
Through the chair, do you wish to confirm if the speaker is available?
Yeah, Nelia Leet, is she here? She's not. Okay, so Ms. McFarlane, we've dodged the bullet for now. So I'm going to take it into panel in committee. Could you, do you have anything to say before I take it to the panel?
Yes, Mr. Chair, a couple of comments with regard to this application. We have also submitted a corresponding site plan application, which began in 2018, when the minor variance application was also submitted, hence the applicant number from a couple of years ago. We've taken the development proposal through 4 rounds of site plan submission with 3 rounds of comments that we have addressed. Before you today is a development proposal which has been reduced in height and density. We've complied with the angular plane, which was detailed out with staff to ensure that we had community planning support on this. I understand that there is urban forestry comments and conditions, and we are accepting of those, and they do coincide with the arborist report that has been submitted along with our site plan application. I've provided a report for committee in terms of the planning rationale with respect to the proposed variances that support the development of a 7-story building, mixed-use building with retail commercial at grade and 25 units. And it's my opinion that the proposed development would very much revitalize an underutilized property, which currently hosts outdoor storage for vehicles at the surface at this moment. I'm available for questions of any committee, and I can respond if there are any applicants, that one applicant who was registered to speak today.
All right, panel, any questions? Yes, Gary?
Yes, I understand that the parking is going to be done by essentially stacking. And I'm wondering if the applicant or developer has used this method in the past. I've seen a few of these in New York City, but we're not so used to them in Scarborough. But maybe I could just ask that then as a starter. Has there been a past project by this particular developer where parking was stacked?
Yes, through the chair, that is correct. The proposed parking stacker is internal to the building. So the stackers would not be seen from the public realm, like is the case with many stackers where it looks like a garage. So the proposal is to have vehicles drive in and turn into their corresponding stackers. Certainly myself as a planning consultant, I've done probably about between 10 to 15 projects in the city of Toronto. Specifically, my client who owns this property also owns a number of other properties along the Danforth Strip, including a mixed-use building that's about a block to the east of this property on the north side of Danforth, where we have proposed and are installing at this moment the exact same stackers, including the same specifications that we're proposing at 3258.
Great, thank you for that.
All right, Mohammed?
Through the chair, thank you, and for providing all this information. And as you said, the matters pertaining to angular plan and height has been looked into, and I'm glad there is no issue to that. My question is about variance number 8, and I will break up my questions into 3 sub-questions, if you can elaborate on that. First, how many resident parkings you are being? I understand the total number of the parking you are providing are 19, but just reconfirming how many parkings are there for the residents when there are 25 dwelling units are there. Commercial parking, I understand, although it's a mixed-use building, but there is no provision for the commercial parking. So what's going to happen that? And finally, could you elaborate what parking rate you have applied for overall parking numbers? I understand there are 25 dwelling units, so it could be like 25 parking for the residents, or the total number, which is 28 spaces. So could you just give a clarity on this?
Certainly. Through the chair, to answer the committee's question, that is correct, sir. We are proposing 19 parking spaces. Of those 19, 1 is a visitor space. In terms of commercial, and sorry, to elaborate, the visitor space is not within a stacker. For reasons to do with technology, it is challenging to have visitor spaces associated with stacker parking spaces. So the proposed visitor space is not within a stacker, it's on a grade. We have no proposed commercial parking spaces. The proposed commercial GFA on the ground floor is only 73 square meters. And as per the zoning bylaw 569/2013, if the development proposal contains commercial space, retail space less than 200 square meters, no parking space is provided. So we have not provided a parking space consistent with the 0 requirement in the bylaw. Now, in terms of the parking rate, sir, you'll notice that there are 2 variances with respect to parking. We have 2 applicable bylaws because bylaw 569/2013 has not yet been approved in its entirety. One of those sections being the parking rate. Now, you'll likely also notice that we have a parking rate under the old Scarborough bylaw that we are varying, because the requirement under the previous Scarborough bylaw is for 28 spaces, whereby we are proposing 19. However, under bylaw 569/2013, we do not need a variance for parking space number. We've amended the parking space dimension only through a different variance. So the proposed parking does comply with the rates under 569/2013. And I believe that answers all the questions.
So is the Scarborough bylaw regulating the number of spaces under appeal?
It's the old Scarborough Oak Ridge Community Bylaw is not under appeal, but The section with respect to parking in 569/2013 is under appeal still. And until that appeal gets sorted and approved at the OLT, the provisions with respect to parking from the Scarborough Oak Ridge Community Bylaw still apply. However, it's a much older bylaw and it reflects rates which were drafted many, many years ago. And the direction of the city, as per 2013, is for less parking supply, and we comply with that rate. I touched on the new council-approved parking bylaw from last December, which amends 569. I know that one is still under appeal, and I'm not going to go there because it complicates matters. But I just wish to tell the committee that we do comply with the parking requirement of bylaw 569/2013.
Thank you. Panel, any further questions? Mohammed?
Thank you, Jen. Coming towards the variance number 4, the setback. The setback abutting August Avenue is a kilometer, and I have concerns to that. The committee have been showing their concerns for the 0-meter setbacks, especially when in the future certain repairs, maintenance, certain issues arises. So how you support that variance?
Through the chair, to respond to that, the portion of August Avenue that abuts the subject property contains a fairly wide boulevard. And we've been working with both urban forestry, urban design, and community planning to ensure that we have sufficient, that we are sufficiently designing the boulevard adjacent to the site to accommodate all the required elements that the city needs with respect to their streetscaping visioning. We know where the utilities are, we know where the existing sidewalk is, the trees, and what we're putting back would be an elevated streetscape adjacent to the property. Now with this site, it's a very tight, narrow site. And to accommodate an additional 1.5 meter setback would render such a project not viable due to how thin it would be in terms of the proposed, or in terms of what's left on the subject property. Although, the usual requirement is to have a slight setback, we do provide elements of the streetscape where the building is set back, like at the corner rounding and recessed entrances. And we are providing an enhanced streetscape where we can fit all of the requirements that the city needs on that city boulevard. And in instance, it was agreed upon that an additional setback is not warranted due to the conditions of the city boulevard.
Any Ann?
Thank you. If Mohammed is finished, I want to comment on that. Often we get applications that are not as far advanced as this application, where they are proposing a 0 setback from the street line. And Mohammed is correct. We've often raised issues with that. In this case, I'm pleased to see that you've gone through 4 site plan approval processes, which means that there's been a lot of concern looking at this property. I know that August is a local street, and I think given the amount of detail that you have looked at and the fact that this is a local street in a very small area, or a very tight area of the old Scarborough, I'm with your comments that you have been able to accommodate boulevard paving and landscaping. You have looked at the underground services and are confident that a zero setback will not interfere. So I just wanted to make that comment because it is something that we've had issues with on other applications. So I'm pleased with the response.
Okay, if there are no further questions, does someone have a motion? Yeah, yes, Mohammed?
Thank you very much. I put forward the motion for approval of item number 1. So the condition of urban forestry, condition number 1 and condition number 2.
We have a seconder, and all in favor? Have your approvals. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 2, 5 Warringstown Drive. Pamir Rafiq.
Yes, I'm Chair.
Can we have your name and address for the record, sir?
My name is Pamir Rafiq. The address of my office is 1435 Cornwall Road in Oakville, unit number D2.
Okay, just hang on. Is Patricia Ewell on available? No. Okay. Mr. Rafiq, do you have any comment you want to make to the panel before I take it into committee?
I'm sure there will be quite a bit to discuss here. I think it's best to address it after you take the lead on this. Address each item after you take the lead on this, because there's a bunch of things that should be addressed. We just want to make sure that we follow, that we have everybody satisfied with the items, and that we do not intend to cause any friction or any trouble with this. So hopefully we can come to an agreement.
Okay, panel, do you have any questions? Yes, Anne?
Perhaps we could have a short presentation from the applicant, in particular, his building height and the rear yard platforms.
Okay, I can do that. So originally we had a different application. I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. So we had proposed a 3-story home, and we made an application for this with the adjustment. We were told that a 3-story will not be supported. Hopefully we can work with the planning staff and get rid of that, or something that's smaller, a little bit more in line with the character of the neighborhood, which is I had a conversation with the owner. He was not happy, but I kind of steered him away from that, and we ended up with a 2-story home to be closer to what the character of the neighborhood is and what other similar approvals and other similar applications in the neighborhood were approved. So we went down to 2 stories, 9.66 meters. We have a balcony in the back as well, and that's really rather straightforward. It's just a balcony that's in the rear yard. It's slightly over the maximum allowed, and that's really about it. So we have 3 variances really, whereas 2 of them are pertaining about the height. So 2 of them are identical. It's just it should be really considered as 2 variances, one for the balcony, one for the height. And then, maybe I should add. I'm sorry. Maybe I should add also that we had then received communication from EHOR, who is a representative of the deputy mayor, who suggested that we should have 0 variance on this, which this is kind of where I got irritated and maybe confused also, because we received the instruction at first that we should kind of meet the character a little bit better, and as long as we get rid of the 3-story, then we can have a conversation. We got rid of that. Everything was fine. We went for variance. The process happened smoothly. After we went for variance, a neighbor complained, and which is fine. It's their right. It seems like it looked to me like one neighbor rallied around, got a bunch of other people to speak against it, and what happened then is, after the complaint came in, that's when EHOR reached out to me, the representative of the deputy mayor, and told me that they're no longer in support. They want 0 variances. We should get rid of everything. And that's that story. We received some pushback from the deputy mayor. We also received pushback from the planning department about it being or having the suspicion of it being a housing complex, just because of the number of bathrooms and maybe the way they out. Maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I was going to address these things as you guys are bringing it up, because I'm sure you would. But if you want, I can address now. Okay, I'll address it right now. So in response to that was never the idea. I'm dealing with the client here, who's living with his father and mother and family in this house, and they have a dog. There's no intention of turning this into a housing. I can give you my word. I can give you my word for it. The owner has prepared a letter in which he swears that has never been the intention, and there's no plan to turn this into that in the future. And maybe just to kind of satisfy your needs, and I told the neighbor that in case ever, for whatever reason, the intention comes up of turning this into a housing, which right now there's no plans for it, they will make sure to have it all legalized and inform the city about it, get a permit for it accordingly, because there's a bunch of fire rating and zoning matters that have to go in. It would all have to be legal. But like I said, 0 intention for that. It was never been the conversation. The family has been living in that neighborhood for 18 years. They love it. They made some money. They want to turn this house into something nicer and stay in there forever. That's the intention. I can give you my word. There's a letter also. I'm sure you've received that letter as well. Okay. That's my rant. If there's any comments from your end, I'm happy to address that.
All right. Mohammed, you had a question?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Rafiq. You already mentioned about the comments over the number of rooms or washrooms or the overall structure.
Is reasonable. And again, I don't want to step on anybody's toes or go too much. The intention is, if you guys have a problem with that still, and we're happy to follow your instructions and we'll make revisions to this. I just hope I can kind of challenge it.
Yes, Ann?
Through the chair, I believe Member Macaulay's on mute.
Oh.
Thank you. I'm listening to your comments, sir, and I appreciate that you have gone through a couple of renditions on this proposal. The one thing that strikes me is the building height is 9.66 meters versus a 9-meter height. And I think that comes because of the very steep pitch of your building. Had you considered making that roof pitch shallower and therefore not needing a variance for building height?
We have, see, with our firm Lucid Homes, I'm getting a bit technical now. Lucid Homes, we pride ourselves, we focus on luxury home designs. We pride ourselves in studying design, and with homes like this, we always follow a certain style. You know, when it comes to French chateau, which this is, or we're trying to, with this proposal, we're trying to be in the framework of variation of a French chateau. French chateau style exists for thousands of years. These rules cannot be messed with, right? And I understand that oftentimes it happens, and there's other designers that mix styles with each other. Those things are eyesores to me, and I explain these things to my clients as well. Now, I'm hoping that we can maintain the rules of a French chateau and the rules of proportions of a French chateau style. But like I said, if this causes friction with the zoning, then we're happy to make adjustments to it. Although it would sort of break the rules of a French chateau design.
Yes, Anne?
Okay, thank you, sir. I hear what you're saying, and yes, it is a nice the French chateau design. I understand that it's probably not something that is popular or well represented in that neighborhood, and that may be one of the reasons what has raised the issue. Both are your over height at 9.66. Is there any other houses in that area that have a height over 9.6? My understanding is that basically that area is predominantly bungalows, so you really are showing a different style.
Yeah. So I have a list. I have a list of projects here. I have a list of 4 projects which are exceeding the height variance, and really the area. Or before I get to that list, perhaps most houses there are bungalows, but the zoning bylaw does not dictate bungalows, right? So we kind of have to keep that part in consideration as well. And I'm sure with the neighborhood, they would prefer if I propose a bungalow. Even if we don't go for variance, we'd still even if we don't go for variance, we stick with the 9 meters. We'd still have a second story, which is completely permissible by the zoning bylaw. And with those 4 items that I have here, they're not. One of them exceeds 9.66, but the other ones come very close. Although they all have height variances within them. The one maybe I'll skip on the 3 other items. I just go to the one that is 10.15 meters. It's a 3 Cave Hill Crescent. It's in the same zone, and it's very close, within walking distance, very close to this house. It's 10.15 meters, whereas 9 meters is allowed. And mind you, every single one of these 4 other examples, we can go through them. I don't think it's necessary, but each one of these has multiple variances that pertain to size, exceeding the lot coverage, they're exceeding the GFA, they're exceeding the setbacks. So this one in particular has 9 variances. We actually intentionally did not go with the GFA or lot coverage regulations. We do not exceed the setbacks, so that we can at least come as close as possible to your needs and make sure that we only have this one height variance, which is way more lenient than the 10.15, which is already approved. This was in the year 2017.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that additional information. And if there are no further comments, I'm prepared to recommend approval of this application.
And no more comments on my end.
Yeah, subject to urban forestry, condition number 2.
Yes.
All right. And just one, perhaps I could put this to the applicant before we vote on your motion. Applicant, does this platform overlook any adjoining properties?
So, see, that's a tricky question to answer. I think even if you stand in front of a window, you're always overlooking the property to your left, to your right, and the ones behind you.
Okay.
So
what I'm suggesting, I'm not suggesting refusal because of this platform, I'm suggesting that we put up a privacy screen of 1.5 meters all around the platform.
All around.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually had a condition. I actually had a suggestion about that too. Let's say it comes down to this one. I can also suggest that we actually build the guardrail further in, if that is something that would satisfy you. But possibly the privacy screen might be a better solution. But if it's all around, it might be tricky. 1.5 meters?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Ann, that's a...
Through the chair, can we confirm exactly which directions, like which elevations are going to be required for this privacy screen? So just for clarity, when we... Three sides? Two sides?
Yeah. Mr. Rafiq?
Oh, okay. So the balcony has three sides, and my understanding is that you would probably want the privacy screen on all the three sides of the balcony.
Well, I assume there's an overlook on three sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we just go all around. We just go all around the railing. Wherever there's a railing, we make sure to put privacy screen.
Yes.
Okay. No, we'll do that. All exposed sides.
All right. So Ann, is that acceptable in your motion?
Yes, that is acceptable, and thank you to the applicant for agreeing to do that. So my motion is to approve this application, subject to screening on all three sides of the platform, and subject to any urban forestry conditions.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Gary, thank you. All in favor? Have your approval. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for working with me on this one. Amazing. Have a good day.
Thank you. Number 3, 9 Fernwood Heights. Mr. Tusi.
Morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sean Tusi. I'm the principal architect at MUIR Architects Inc., representing the owner today.
Right. Well, apparently we have a recommendation for a deferral from TRCA. Could you comment on that, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. So the requirement for the TRCA approval for this specific property comes as a given. So even if we were not in front of you, Mr. Chair, today, we would still have to get their approval. Even if you approve this application with no condition today, we would still have to get their approval. So I was personally a little bit surprised. I did talk to the technician. My office had been talking to them, in fact, not me personally, but one of our senior project managers who's responsible for this project has been in talk with them. And the conclusion, the decision was that we have addressed the concern they have in a sort of a verbal discussion. There's some technical work that has to be done by the surveyor to validate some of the assumptions. But obviously, because those assumptions was not done, the TRCA wasn't willing support to basically change their position to support. So the solution I would like to recommend, should the committee decide to approve the application, because if you look at it as just two items, they're very common in that neighborhood with those numbers. So it really seems the only issue would be the TRCA matter. Should the committee decide to approve the application, we do recommend to put a condition that this application would be conditional upon TRCA approval. Having said that, even if you don't put that condition, we would still have to do that, but just to be triple sure and you know, the members feel comfortable that, you know, the TRCA comments are sort of addressed in their decision, our recommendation would be that should the committee decide to approve the application, they put a condition for TRCA approval.
All right, panel, any questions? Yes, Anne?
Thank you. To the applicant, when did you first approach the TRCA? I'm trying to determine, have you been talking to them for some length of time, or have you not been talking to them until the very end of your project? And I note that the TRCA has suggested that they want a deferral because they suspect that there may be further variances. And if there are further variances, it means that you would have to come back in front of us for approval, or your option is to accept a deferral today, get the comments from TRCA, and be assured that no further variances are necessary. So can you comment on both your timing and your expectation of approval from TRCA?
Absolutely. Through you, Mr. Chair, Member McCall, we received actually approval from Ravine, typically their conditions are very, very similar with the TRCA, the concerns they have. And we have also have the initial agreement with TRCA. The problem with the reports you see are really like very updated. So the reports gets written when they're written. And then if there anything happens between that, unfortunately you don't, I believe. And if there is anything missing, we totally understand we have to get back. But based on what I have at the knowledge of our design and close, very, very close communications with, again, Ravine and TRCA, we believe we're in a very good shape in terms of not missing any applications, any variants.
Okay, TRCA has suggested that they need a surveyor to go out and confirm some of the setbacks. You've expressed that you are an experienced developer or experienced applicant here. I think we also are quite experienced with development adjacent to the Scarborough Bluffs, and are aware that in certain locations, the bluffs erode, and they don't erode a foot or two, they will erode 10 feet or 20 feet. And in some cases, the municipality has had to acquire the entire property because of the erosion issues. So it's
Through you, Mr. Chair, and Member Macaulay, this is very similar to an urban forestry condition, right? We're in the middle of negotiation with them, and you're correct. Like while I don't see that very common, like you mentioned, we have to send a survey to validate some of the numbers, and there I believe go after. That's how soon it is going to happen. But what I'm trying to refer, if our assumptions are correct, which let's say 90% are correct, then the design that you have in front of you stays. If our assumptions are not correct and things are worse than, as you mentioned, there are more roads, smaller. The point is that we cannot really get this house permit without having TRC approval. Similar to when you approve the application based on urban forestry's approval, because there will be back and forces, and then we won't be able to get a permit if the urban forestry is not happy, right? Because we have to protect the trees. So the same thing is this: we have to protect the bluff, and if the TRCA is not happy with our proposal, and we had to make the house smaller, then we're really making it a smaller. The variance may change, but it's going to change into a better way. And since the TRCA approval is required by nature, and you're welcome to add it as a condition, it literally addresses your concern, Member Macaulay, that really get a permit. If you approve this application, we still have to make them happy. We still have to make them satisfied. We'll still have to address everything you mentioned. So my point is that your approval today is not going to bypass any of those. It still has to go through the process, and your deferral is the same thing. It again has to go through the process. It's just that I believe it's going to save your precious time. Obviously, the entire process is going to be more streamlined. The deferral is not going to change the design. It's not going to design better. It's not going to make the variances less or more. So I believe if it was something that I would feel that it's going to have any benefit for any party, we would definitely be open to it. But I think the deferral not going to change anything because we would have to get them happy anyways. That means if they just come back and says, you know what, I wake up this morning, let's say the TRCA technician says, I wake up this morning, I like you to have 7 meter setback. We have to do it. Like, we have to get them happy. So your approval is not going to bypass any of those. It's not change anything in that sense, which is your concern, to make sure that we address TRCA concerns. We would have to do it regardless. So that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, although member and points out very well, approval is required at a certain point, and there will be no bypass of the process. So I agree, and they are appropriate. So. And I appreciate that Mr. Tusi is quite of the procedure. He knows that if the TRCA is not going to recommend, they finally have to come back again if there are variances, if they are there. So currently, Mr. Chair, I would say focusing on the 2 variances, I am supportive to that. And if the other members all agree, I can move a motion for the approval of this application.
All right, would you make the motion, Mohammed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the motion for approval of item number 3 without any condition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Number 4, 50 Haileybury Drive. Mr. Nafise Sangjiabadi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, member of the committee. My name is Naf.
All right. Are Mr. and Mrs. Gibson online? Okay. All right, so panel, do you have any questions?
So I'd like to make a brief presentation.
Yeah,
about the.
Yeah, go ahead. Speak to the
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So this application is to construct a side addition, 20 square meter in area. It complies with the zoning bylaw requirement in terms of coverage, setback, length, height. It doesn't trigger any variances as for the footprint of the building. However, since it was originally designed as a carport, it's going to trigger a parking space variance to be on the front yard, on the driveway. So the variance, almost all the houses on Haileybury Drive park on the driveway in the front yard. I have a list of the houses, more than 15 of them, 77 of them on Haileybury Drive. They did the same infill addition to add the carport to their house, and then they're parking on the driveway. Addresses are 156, 140, 139, 61, 52, and 27. These are just on Haileybury. And then we have number 12, number 1, 44, 57, 67, 65, 73, and 34 on Deerfield, just south of Haileybury. And then number 7 and 8 on Panmure Crescent, which is a little bit southeast. And then we have number 6, 7, 11, 59 on Bonnetry Crescent. All of these houses that I mentioned, they did add the carport to their front, to the side of the building, and they're parking on the driveway. So there are lots of precedents in the area. And as you are aware, zoning itself counts the parking on the driveway as a second space to park, if it leads to a parking space. So we have almost the same situation. So it's not something new to the zoning as well. And the staff report, staff mentioned that they have concern about the character of the neighborhood being changed. But the thing is, for the exact same reason as we wanted to keep the streetscape, we designed our front elevation in a way that we kept the roofs of existing carport. So the roof of the existing carport, the exact height, exact slope, everything gonna stay the same. So when you look from the street to the house, it's gonna be exactly the same as what was before, just a little bit forward to the front. And we also didn't do the front wall of the addition flush with the front wall of the house. So it is set back about 3.5 feet. So the look of the addition will be similar to what was there before. So basically, we are not changing the streetscape, even though most of the addresses that I mentioned, they have the front wall of the addition flushed with the main wall of the house, which changed the look from the street. Ours does not. There's no variance for the front yard landscaping, soft and hard landscaping. The driveway complies with the dimension of a parking space. All our neighbors are in support of our proposal because obviously they did the same themselves. So we believe by constructing a small side addition, which totally complies with the zoning bylaw, does not change the look of the house on the street, does not change the front yard layout and existing driveway. It maintains the existing parking space on the driveway without any changes. We will be in keeping up with the neighborhood fabric, and the variance we're requesting is just minor in nature. And considering other approvals in the area, we would like to ask the panel for their approval.
All right, thank you. Panel, any questions? Do we have a motion? Anne?
I have a comment. This is a particular area of Scarborough where houses were built with carports, and the applicant has listed a number of other carports in the area. Don't know how many of those are legal. She didn't list them as having received variance, gone ahead and filled in their carport and are parking on the street. I'm a little conflicted with this application. I understand. However, I'm not sure it's the role of the Committee of Adjustment to make a change that has an impact on the entire character of it. And in my opinion, the character of the area is bungalows with carports. The legal parking space is not on the driveway. So I'm conflicted with this one.
I agree. I'm also conflicted with this. I think what is interesting when I am looking at the actual street from Street View on Google, many folks are using the carports for a variety of different uses. Some people are just using it as a patio space. The nature of them being used exclusively for parking a vehicle doesn't seem to be, at least from this very sort of unofficial sort of view that I'm looking at with a number of them, doesn't seem to be strictly dedicated to parking vehicles. And it seems like folks have taken the liberty to use them for other uses, especially because, as the applicant noted, it seems like it's a very small amount of space that is being enclosed and keeping with the roof line and all those components that they mentioned. So I'm unsure. And I also did look at some of the other ones that were mentioned in terms of addresses and seem to have enclosed their carports, whether legally or illegal.
Question?
Sorry, thanks, Mr. Chair. Yes, I regarded by that conclusion saying that enclosing the carport wouldn't respect. So while that report gives me pause, I think I'm supportive of the variance in this situation for this particular carport to be enclosed. Thank you.
All right, so I carport space. If it is the closure of the carport space, I don't see that as a real problem. It's a small addition to the house. It doesn't have any variances. The only variance we have is with respect to parking in the front yard. And when the planning is objecting on the basis that it doesn't fit within on the driveway are not official parking spaces, but they don't want to go to the back, or it's too narrow, they can't really get in ways. But I think that the character of the neighborhood, whether they're legal or not, is parking in the front yard, whether it's on the driveway. So do we have any further comments, or do we have a motion? We have your name and your address, sir, for the record.
I am Peter Druzik from Arc.
Thank you. We have some opposition, so I think you would better make a...
Chair, may I suggest checking to see whether the speakers are registered?
You're right, so not. Colin, you're prescient. So we don't need your presentation. And do you have anything to say to the panel before we take it into committee?
On this application together with planning department, and we've the submission before you to come up with this plan in consultation with them.
All right, thank you. Panel, any questions? San?
This is a very quick question. Peter, I know we're not moving the floor plans, but on your first floor plan, you're showing an existing, proposing to have 2 kitchens on that house?
Yes, their mother is moving in with them, and they want to give her some autonomy in her old age. And so she's going to be utilizing the existing kitchen at the front while they help their aging mother live with them with some dignity and give her some autonomy.
When you took this through community planning, did they have any issues with the 2 kitchens being side by side? Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Yeah, Mohammed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. P, it's look quite a bigger, like 2 meter exceeding the required. So could you tell me what are the factors which are triggering this variance?
Existing condition. Our addition is only at the rear. This is the existing front yard. We did not modify anything in the front yard. This is an existing condition.
So this has been always there, right?
Correct. Yes, we are not proposing any changes to the front yard. That's why everything is labeled as existing asphalt, existing. In 30 years, it has been like that. My clients have lived in this house for a while now, and these are existing conditions at the front of the house.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks.
Any further questions? Yes, Mohammed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Application, item number 16, subject to the community planning staff report recommendations.
Do we have a seconder? Yes, Ann, thank you. All in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, morning session is...
For our viewers on YouTube, if you wish to, we will be reconvening for the PM session, the afternoon session at 1:30, and you will need to access